Hey, it's Chuck here, and basically what I wanted to do was really to imagine the report as if we were sitting together reviewing it together. And technology is such that I can now do something like that, which 5 years ago when I started the report wasn't possible. So we've got the December 2010 edition, and I'll show you a little bit more about some of those things between the lines that you may not be aware of. So the Hawthorne Village area, as we define it, is really the area south of Derry. There's the first phase, the Manby built over here, and then we've got the escarpment area too, which is growing pretty fast. And that's my wife and myself. We also have Jenna on our team, who's our client care coordinator. And so a note of caution with the report is really this home is going to give you a general idea of what homes are selling for, available and sold, but it really doesn't tell you the whole story. You know, it's the equivalent of looking up a diagnosis online versus having a doctor come in and really give you an idea of what things are about. So take it with a grain of salt. I think there is some good information, but it's a beginning step. It's something that'll give you an idea of trends more than specifics for your circumstance. And so this graph actually I think is one of the most valuable graphs we have at our disposal, and we update it every month. I've been tracking house prices in the Greater Toronto area, not just in Milton, because there's stability in the number of sales that come from all those different areas. So we've been tracking for the last 8 years what prices have done, and you can see that they follow generally a pretty regular path, and that is December, January tend to be tough months, a little bit low. You get a February kick is what I call it, and we've broken so many records in February because oftentimes what will happen is you get that low inventory from the winter, and but there's still, the demand is starting to heat up, and you'll find that there's holes in the market where you can fit yourself in, and all of a sudden you're the only townhouse listed between 280 and 310. We've seen that kind of stuff before, and it can be tremendously valuable. So there's holes that exist in the off seasons in the market too. We see that sometimes in November. Things can happen really, really quick for someone. Now, you see March tends to actually be a little bit worse in a lot of cases, and then we have the normal spring market, and you can see one might look at this and say, well, do prices go up in the spring? I would argue that the kinds of homes that are selling are a little bit different too, because remember, the families that are selling for the spring to get into the school year in September, those are often bigger homes, double car garage, over 2,000 square feet, that kind of stuff. So we see a bit of different style of homes that tend to sell in those seasons, in the spring and fall. Now we've got the summer tends to slow down, and so I've had people say to me, well, Chuck, why doesn't everybody buy in the winter or at the end of summer? And the reason why is, number one, is they're busy doing other stuff, vacations, all the rest of it. Number two is because oftentimes the selection is not as high, the inventory goes down as well as the prices. So sometimes you can't always find your perfect home. And then we get into the fall kick. You can see in 2008 we had a bit of a dip there in October because of the Obama presidency. Whenever we have elections, we see real estate just stops. It's a very interesting phenomenon. And we also had the peak of the media frenzy about the economic meltdown. So 2009 really brought us a big wave up, and predominantly because of interest rates. And I think a lot of the stability and the reason why we are where we are today is because of the interest rates. And I could see with even a 1% change in interest rates, that could affect our house prices pretty significantly. Because the thing that people forget is that it's all about affordability, and it's all about how much per month is comfortable for someone to budget towards a house. And because the rates are so low, that's why the average price in Toronto is about $430,000, because the payments on that are generally comfortable for a working family with both parents working. So anyhow, that's a little bit about the graph. How we use this really is if you've got a closing, let's say in June, we look at how long it's going to take to close. So you look at your target audience. Where are they likely to live now? If they're renting or with parents, they probably take about 60 days to close. We look at how long it's going to take you to actually list and market your house and to get it sold. And so there's all kinds of ways that we can really look at this graph. Ultimately, what you want is you want your buy and your sell to land at the same finish line so that you don't have any extra costs, that you're not homeless, or you've never, or you actually don't own two homes. And in the last 800 times I've helped people do this process, I've never left anyone homeless, and I've never left anybody that has two properties without them wanting two properties. So it really, understanding the timing and the planning of this process is very, very important, and it's critical and can save you a lot of money. So townhouses, we look at this, and generally between 63 and 100% of the townhomes sell in any given month. Based on what we've seen, you can see how many townhomes have been listed, how many have sold, and you can look at the average percent of list price. So if it's listed for $100,000, this is saying they're going to get $99,000 on average. And semi-detached, you'll see a little bit closer to like a 98%, maybe 98.5% if you average these out. And you'll also see that some months they hit 100%, other months they're sort of 40 to 65 or even 70 to 80%. So semis start to vary a bit, and you can see that as we go up in the price ranges, the styles of home, we start to see less and less number of sales that occur. So detached homes in some cases will waver between about 35% and about 55 to 60%, and now anywhere from 96 to 99%. So I think a lot of people have a false sense of security that in Milton every home sells, and I think the important thing to realize is that it's much more active in the lower price ranges, and so we need to look, if you're let's say at 550, 600,000, what's the best way to position your home to be different than the others so that you can be sure. So really, if 50% of the homes are selling, that means one's selling and one's not. So do you want to be the one that sells or the one that doesn't? So bit of a different way to look at those stats. Overall, what happened in November, we had about 97 sales compared to 150 that were on the market. So overall, 2/3 of homes were selling in Milton. Average days on the market was 28, and we had a 98% of list price. And so January to November, the year to date, you can see that it was 99%, so a little bit higher percentage of lists that people were getting, and the average days on the market was 19 compared to 28 right now. So we're seeing a little bit of a little bit of softening, a little bit for the time of year, but I think that we're right around that sort of 65-70% mark for the listed compared to the sale. So we can look at the year trend and say, is this month on track for that, or is it not? Now, a couple different people here who've actually requested the report. I'll let you read that on your own, but these are real people who have actually worked with us as a result of receiving the report and liking what we do. Okay, so there we go. Now, what's currently selling in Hawthorne Village, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach to the email I'm going to send you a copy of all the sales for townhomes, semis, and detached. This is what's currently for sale. And the reason why we group our sales into averages in this report on public display is because we really can't give you individual sales. It's against privacy rules. I can give it to you one-on-one, but not as a group pre-written report kind of thing. So anyhow, these are all the ones that are for sale, and you can sort of look and say which one does mine resemble, give you a rough idea of what your competition is too. And finally, the last page of your report is basically going to give you 3 things that you can do next. Okay, so the first one is you can request a pinpoint price analysis, and you can actually look at some of those factors around what your home is currently worth right now. Even if you're looking 6 months from now, it's a good checkpoint. It's a good planning point. And what we also do when we do something like this is we give you the cost breakdown of some of the other things, the real estate fees, the lawyer fees, if you're buying another home, the land transfer tax, the closing costs there. And you can start to really make sure that things line up in your budget. Now, the second thing that we can do is we can do a room-by-room review, and we actually have a 16-page guide, and I think that things need to fall into categories when we talk about planning what to do to get your home ready. There's the absolute must-dos, which in my case is something that's going to make you at least 5 times the money you spend on it, or it's going to be very easy to fix, or moving a chair around, something like that. Now, the second category is things that you could do, and those are more break-even things that will actually enhance the appearance of your home, make it easier to sell. And the last category is things you should not do. And I dissuade people every day from doing things that they think they should do that really don't add value to their, to their house, or they actually would lose money if they did them. So anyhow, the last thing that we can do, and that, by the way, the room by room review is about an hour. That's how long it takes to do that. And the last thing is we could showcase your house in our silent market. I have about 5,000 buyer email addresses. We send our Milton Daily Homes, uh, basically our videos every day to those people. I use that email list to really give them an idea of some of the hidden opportunities that exist. And I may even have someone in my database of hundreds of people that may be looking for a home just like yours. So every year I sell a few homes without putting them on the MLS because I have such a far outreach with things that just happen in the sort of silent corridors of real estate. So anyhow, if you just need to give me a bit more information about your house, and I can put some thought into that. So you can reach me by phone, 905-693-9346, or you can reach me by email too. And I hope you have a great Christmas, and I'll be back in January with another report on Hawthorne Village house prices. Okay, have a great one. Bye-bye.